Hi everyone, today is Monday, November 24th, 2014. Alright, in this video I'm going to cover some different articles besides the Middle East. I'll cover the Middle East in the next set of videos. Sorry for the noise in the background. You might probably hear it. That's just basically a generator pumping water out because of all the rain that we've had. You know what rain I'm probably talking about if you live in the Midwest. It was the chem attack, basically chem drizzle. To me, it was completely artificial. And when it rains and when it drizzles like that for 12-15 hours, just doesn't seem right. And it just warmed up to 50-something degrees after having a cold front. And if there's any credence to what they were saying in these different articles and stuff, was this Arctic blaster polar vortex last year was being manufactured, pushing cold air from the northwest in our direction. So maybe the end of it, when it cycles through, because it was just a big pile of shit on the radar, it didn't stop, and it was just huge. It covered up half the United States. That maybe when they push all that cold air and using chemtrails and pulsing with HARP, that maybe at the end you just get kind of the crud that just comes at the end, which warms up, and out comes the drizzle. But anyways, speaking of which, climate change could worsen poverty, says the World Bank. And they couldn't say global warming because they know damn well that it's not true anymore. And they haven't really pushed their whole climate CO2 scheme so far. But they're going to still continue the fear-mongering, not about the cold that's coming. Says that the climate change could undermine efforts being made to counter extreme poverty worldwide and lead to greater food insecurity. So they do continue with this narrative that it's going to keep getting warmer and warmer and warmer. They said that the sharp rises in temperatures would cut water supplies and crop yields, and it would undermine the global effort to feed the world and eliminate poverty. Promote shared prosperity. So I personally think that people should handle their own issues internally, like locally, but if you want to save the world, then I guess that's your thing. But it's kind of harsh. But I heard someone giving a lecture yesterday made an interesting point about feeding the poor, and it sounds nice and everything. You see a lot of Americans that hand money over to go way overseas into another continent of people who can't help themselves and keep procreating, having more and more people, and yet they don't care about their own local community of people that are homeless or going to be freezing or don't stuff like that. By helping these people continue, it's just going to make you're not actually helping them, because it's just going to bring more of them into this world, and since you're just subsidizing that and making up for the fact that they're not able to acquire food or take care of this problem themselves, it just means that when those subsidies stop, there's going to be more people that are going to be starving to death. So but yeah, check out my video on the 30-year solar minimum. Basically, we're heading into a very long cold period, not warming. NASA admits the winters are going to get colder, much colder. Then we move on to vaccinations. 74% would pull their kids from vaccine-lacked daycare. So basically, people who don't want to, daycares that don't want to push forced vaccinations in order to put your kid in some kind of daycare center. Most parents would consider yanking their kids out of daycare setting if other kids weren't vaccinated. So this is either, it could be skewed, or these people could just really be brainwashed. I think they're just really brainwashed. According to a study by the University of Michigan, more than 600 parents, kids up to age 5 were queried for the survey. 81% think all children at daycare should be vaccinated. So that scenario may mirror reality. The associate director of the poll tells Live Science 1 in 4 preschoolers may not be up to date on their vaccinations. The moral of the story is, if you put your kid in a public school, expect them to be indoctrinated into being a good consumer and being a good tool in a labor force for big corporations. That's basically what they're doing there, and so you can go off to work, and they take care of them and they raise them for you, them in entertainment, And so if you dump them off in there, just expect them to do whatever the hell they want with them. Otherwise, you'd have to do some kind of private tutoring, homeschooling, to avoid that crap. School, you know, because it's all political. So just like the science stuff, live science, it's really politically motivated. So school bans third grader from attending class over vaccine dispute. So she's on an unplanned vacation. Third grader told the news that she feels bad about being banned from school for not getting a booster shot. So the health department went on their annual fear-mongering campaign about whooping cough outbreaks, requiring any student who didn't complete the tetanus, diphtheria, a DPV vaccine, basically, to get one, or they get booted from school. So, but the mother said the family pediatrician and others told her that the vaccine was risky. Not one of them said that they felt comfortable giving that vaccine to their kids under 10. I'm not against vaccinating. I'm against age-inappropriate vaccinating. So, and I saw an article recently about doctors not giving their own children vaccines, so they know what's going on. Scientists, and I don't know if I'm technically against all vaccines. Like if you're going to South America, you might want to get one. But I don't like it when it's forced on people, and especially stuff like the HPV vaccine for, young teens in school. It could harm them, and it doesn't even do what it's supposed to do. Scientists find signs of toxic flame retardants in Americans from November 12th. One was TSEP. It damages people's nervous and reproductive systems, found in 75% of the people tested. Another one was TDCIPP, which is similar to it. And it said this was a surprise because it was phased out of children's pajamas in the 1970s. It shouldn't be a surprise to most people that watch these videos, but we found that several toxic flame retardants are in people's bodies. When you sit on your couch, you want to relax, not get exposed to chemicals that cause cancer. And it's the same thing like in brand new cars, all that stuff that you touch, it's all got cancer-causing agents in it. There's always different theories about why cancer rates are so high. But one of them, besides the food, one of them besides environmental things like pollution and chemtrails, could just be the amount of exposure to chemical products since post-World War II, everywhere. Fire-safe cigarettes create even more lung damage. This is from May of 2012, so I'm just kind of tying this in there. But these safe cigarettes, if you guys smoke at all, you know what I'm talking about. Fire-safe cigarettes, commercially rolled cigarettes, burn all the way down to the filter if left unattended. So it says, despite claims that they are safe, a fire-safe cigarette still burns for over a minute between safety rings. And so the number of fires caused by it has barely been reduced. It says, unfortunately, there's no good news. The other is that these safety rings are made of ethylene vinyl acetate copolymer emulsion-based adhesive. There you go. Short little word. Carpet glue is basically what it is. Causes severe irritation in mucous membranes or upper respiratory tract. Symptoms of this damage include severe burning sensations, laryngitis, shortness of breath, headaches, nausea, and vomiting. In other words, the speed bumps aren't only useless, they're compounding problems for smokers. So I've noticed more people turning to American Spirit packaged cigarettes. I do the pouch, whatever. But yeah, that stuff, man, those regular box cigarettes are pre-made, unless they're organic type stuff. They usually are really, really annoying to smell and be around, and people don't notice the difference. Why I'm not really big on going into a restaurant or a bar or something like that where they allow smoking, because they're all smoking them, literally cancer sticks, and there's no way to get away from it. I usually just go outside to smoke. Just out of respect for other people. Could Wi-Fi be harming your health? Well, I don't know. Let's see. Let's just go ahead and carry out an experiment on people. Let's see what happens down 30, 40 years when it's too late, when they're dead. That's what a growing number of people believe is triggering their headaches, nausea, and crippling pain. 63-year-old can't go to theaters, restaurants, and airports or parks. She has electromagnetic hypersensitivity intolerance syndrome. I'd imagine we all have this to a certain degree. Some are just more than others. I think I would have something like this, because I don't really I can feel it. I can almost like feel waves of this electromagnetic frequencies going through my head and stuff. And I know with cell phones, there's something that goes past the frequencies go through your blood-brain barrier, and it'll affect all of these things, your mental abilities and that. I noticed it a lot, like at the store, at the grocery store or something, where there's a lot of that stuff, a lot of electricity and cell phones. So she says that she actually plans this. She waits outside the building to the very last minute. Says while trips to the supermarket are conducted at lightning speed. Even walking down the road outside her house can cause a terrible shooting pain in her mouth. That's right. I get shooting pains like that sometimes if I'm around the computer or something like that too long. Which is why whenever she goes out, she wears a top made from special gauzy silver and polyamide material. So it's pretty ridiculous that you'd have to go to these lengths. But there are products out there to protect you from wireless frequencies. The big ones, I think, is a bed thing to go under your bed and it grounds you or something like that. Say that these frequencies range from mobile phones to TV screens, light bulbs. They're a form of non-ionizing radiation designed to be low in frequency to affect people. So some are paralysis, breathing difficulties, basically tiredness, nausea, headache. Crazy article, the man who can hear Wi-Fi wherever he walks. He was going deaf since his 20s. He says now he has hacked his hearing so he can listen to data that surrounds us. He says, I catch the now familiar gurgle of the public Wi-Fi hub. I've been able to hear these fields since last week. This wasn't the result of a sudden mutation or transcendental meditation, but an upgrade to my hearing aids. With a grant from Nesta, the UK innovation charity, it's an experimental tool for making Wi-Fi fields audible. It goes on and says how it's everywhere, and since the early 20th century, setting up satellite broadcasts, Wi-Fi, GPS, remote controls, all these towers, radio towers. The underlying infrastructure has remained largely invisible, unless, of course, you have the effects like we were just talking about. Then you know that these things are there and that they can affect you. So that's pretty crazy if he's picking up on Wi-Fi signals. I mean, they call it Wi-Fi fog or smog. But it's pretty bad when they're picking it up on hearing aids now. And kind of like this weather modification with chemtrails, you don't really have much of a say of whether you want to be a part of it or not. You can just try to get as far as possible from it. U.S. Village is cell phone free and loving it from November 13th. So this town, Green Bank, population 143, has become a mecca for people who are sick, literally, of electromagnetic waves. They claim the migraines and other ailments they blamed on cell phones go away. And the thing that really pisses you off is when scientists and articles will refutate what these people are feeling, and they're telling them what their bodies are telling them, and they're listening. And they say, no, you're just, stupid. It's a safe dose of radiation. Shut up. And people are suffering from it. So he says here, he moved here in July from Nebraska in the Midwest, fleeing electromagnetic waves he said were making him seriously ill. Says if we happen to lose their radio telescope, it's done. He built a shed outside his small home, and so standing 500 feet tall with a white dish, 100 meters high, the telescope operates day and night, capturing signals from space. They call it the Quiet Zone, declared in 1958 to shield scientists' super keen eye on the universe. It's all because of the sensitive radio telescope on the planet, and it says that it has to be very, very quiet for them to be able to pick up on different sounds like a snowflake hitting the ground. So most of these people are fleeing from ailments this ailment called electromagnetic hypersensitivity. He's been sick since the 90s. This one guy, it took a long time for him to conclude the culprit was his cell phone, and of course it took a long time for him because he had to second guess his judgment, and he had nowhere to turn as far as information from people who could tell him what it was. He suffered nausea, migraines, and irregular heartbeats every time he got near a Wi-Fi source. And when he laughed, the headaches would go away. I didn't even make the correlation, he said, adding the beginning of his woes, his doctor gave him antidepressants. So there you go. That's what happened when we went to the doctors who were going to help him. Who know, they know all about health. They're well trained. So they're basically explaining what I was just talking about. You have nowhere else to go. It's kind of shitty. So rather, he feels a bit trapped. I'm a prisoner and I hate it. Another person set up an antenna near the farm in Iowa. She was essentially forced to come home to Green Bank in 2007, saying there's really no choice to live here or to live elsewhere. and have headaches. Anyways, this is GGN. Thank you.